Okay.
Okay. So thanks for the introduction. Yes. So as you say, I'm Mark. I'll try to give you a little bit of context about me and why I'm interested in talking about this site called Awesome Panel that I created, and Panel in general. You can say I'm not a regular member of the Pangeo Society. I'm not. I'm actually not a scientist. I have a background as a scientist many years ago as a mathematician. I live in Denmark, but I have a passion for data analytics and models, and especially like making those data understandable, making it possible for people to explore them, like to see them, to understand them, to get ideas, to play around with them, to present them to other people, and so on. And that's probably where we have a lot in common. That's my guess. So I've been interested in this area for a long time, both when I sort of started mathematics, but also afterwards when I actually went into finance and trading. So that's where I work. You can find a little bit about where I work. So I work for a company in Denmark. It's a global company called Ørsted, and we build offshore wind farms and actually try to help the planet become much more greener, run on renewable energy. But I work in the trading area. And the trading area, it's just like in science. There's so many data, and you want to understand them. And a part of what you do is data visualization. I built this site. Actually, I started out like 4 or 5 years ago, building out Awesome Panel. Some of you might know that sort of awesome sites or lists is a concept. So there's many awesome sites or lists, like for Jupyter, for example. You can search for Jupyter and awesome Jupyter or something like that, and something will pop up. It's sort of way of collecting inspirational material, awesome things about something. And this is an awesome site about Panel. So Panel is this data application framework, which actually can both support you in your data exploration journey, but also like build data apps, web apps, just as you might know you can do with Streamlit, Radio Dash, Shiny, and so on. So it's in that space, but Panel is a little bit special in the way that it works in your Jupyter notebook. It works in your editor, and you can use it both for data exploration and also for web app frameworks. And if you go to the site, you can see a lot of inspirational material. Some of it I've built, some of it is built by others in the community. So starting at the top, you can go and find some inspiration about weather data. So if you go into this site, so what you will see here is a little bit about like cool apps that people build. So I think like if you don't know what you can build with Panel today, you can actually build quite cool applications. So people look for inspiration. This does not look so great because it's like constrained in not such a wide place or page. But if you go here, you can actually like play around with the full app that Andrew created, and I think it's quite cool. It's built on some fundamental like building blocks that we have in the Python data visualization ecosystem, like Bokeh and HoloViz and Panel. And you can play around with it and select different things that you want to select, and it will hopefully update and so on. So that's the idea of the site, that you can go and find the inspiration. You can play around with the apps, and you can also like find the code. So for example, on Hugging Face, I don't know if you know Hugging Face, but Hugging Face is this platform really for machine learning and deep learning, where a lot of both data scientists but also companies, they share code and models and applications. And if you go on the files, you can find the files, and it works just like a GitHub code repository, so you can like git clone the code. And that's one of the things that's changed over the last 5 years. When I started out like with this passion about like data apps 5 years ago, at least with Panel, it was very hard to share things. But today there are many platforms where it's free and easy to share, and Hugging Face is one of them. Let's take up another example of things. So, for example, here's an example of Longboard. So Longboard is a way to visualize, you can say, maybe not the largest data, but larger data sets. So it's actually this widget we have over here. So again, if you want to learn or try to collect material about how to use this stuff. So for example, there's a guide on how you can use panel with Longboard here. So on the Longboard website, and you can see what you need to pip install, and you can see like how to make small applications like this one up here, or larger ones where you start to have interactivity. So that's a lot what panel is about, like having small widgets, sliders, drop down buttons, and so on, so that you can sort of change and sort of get closer to the data, and so on. And there's also the code of this larger application. Yeah. And a part of what I've been contributing to is actually also this documentation. So it's also me like writing up this tutorial here. And again, the purpose is really to also help promote panel, because I think it's a very special framework in Python. So I would really like people to know about it. And in order for people to know about something, then you need to help them, like make it visible. And one way is to make demos and make it like easy to use by writing tutorials and so on. There are other examples. This is sort of an example of going beyond what's in panel. You can say like using like external things, like here Cesium, right? So this is a JavaScript framework that's been integrated within panel. So you can do a lot of stuff with panel, no matter what like domain you're in or what you're interested in. And one of the unique things about panel is it's actually a quite fast framework of all these like data app frameworks. So you can build quite performant web apps with it as well, if that's your interest. Yeah. And again, here's another one built by Andrew. So we can take it up again on Hugging Face basis. So it's just a way to like, look at this plot here, and select different items here. So again, it's just really to showcase, how these applications can look and how they can be built. A part of the things I always like is also like including the data in your application, both like as a plot or data visualization, but also more the raw data so that you can play around with it. And one of the special widgets that panel contains is called perspective. And it's really like an interactive pivot table that you can play around with if you want to do that. So there's a lot of interactivity in panel as well. And in general, there's there's a lot of like exciting things. One of the things I like as well is like this cross filtering. I really like being able to zoom in to some points and like see how the relations are. So here you will see another way of like sharing apps today, something called PyCafe. So this application is a little bit slow to load, but it's because it's actually running entirely in the browser. So again, as I started out saying that like 5 years ago, it was very, very hard to share interactive Python visualizations. They required a server, and a server is something you often have to pay for, and you have to spend time maintaining it. But now, like Python can run really well in the browser for a lot of use cases, not really for big data, but for a lot of other use cases. So it's relatively easy to share applications like these. And yeah, what I wanted to show here is just like the cross filtering. Let me see here. I probably need to make it a little bit larger. Can I maximize it? That's actually my question. Maybe I can't. Let's see here what happens when I click this one. Okay. I wanted to maximize this to showcase how. Yeah. That's the problem with demos. There's always something breaking. But yeah, there's a lot of things you can say. Other things that are quite interesting that you can like work with if you are interested in images, right? Like especially again, this is running in the browser entirely in Pyodide. So when you don't have this server in the background, then you can say there's not a lot of communication. You don't have to send all the data from the server to the browser and maybe back again and so on. So after, like, it takes some time to load, but when things have loaded, then it's actually pretty fast. So you can see some examples here, right? It's actually like using my video camera, right? And you can just use a scikit image and so on to like play around with this video, and maybe it can even detect my face and stuff like that in real time. And this is all Python, and it's just so fast because it's running in the browser alone. So yeah, and also because Panel is a fast framework, but primarily because it's running alone in the browser. Then some of you might also be like interested in AI and large language models and so on. Like we've really invested in building chatbots or chat interfaces for Panel so that it's relatively easy to get started with. I use them at work to integrate with the applications we build. But this is like another site that I've also contributed to, so called Panel Chat Examples. And here you can find like introductions to like how you can build small chat interfaces. There's code here. So this is all the code it really takes to build like a small example like this. But there's also like more advanced snippets if you want to use different frameworks for AI. So they're here. And also like if you want to build more advanced interfaces like agents or something like that, then there's examples here. So you can also chat with your plot, for example, if you want to. So there's a lot of inspiration you can like find if you go here to awesomepanel.org and then navigate around. Maybe I can say a little bit about Panel also, as it's been updating over the years. So this is the Panel website, and for those who like my a lot of my spare time is Panel, so it might be obvious only for me, but you can say Panel is it's a big framework. There's a lot of documentation about it, but it's relatively easy to use and get started with today because we've invested a lot in the tutorials. So some of the things we've done over the last year is really to work on our tutorials. So now we have an extensive set of tutorials. Like if you're a beginner, you take the basic tutorials, and there you will learn to like build Hello World apps, work in a notebook. How do you do that? Or work in an editor if that's your thing. And then you will go through a lot of things to really build up to like building different projects. Like for example, a static report, because that's also a thing. Like it doesn't have to be like a server thing or like an interactive thing. You can also use all the components in Panel to generate like HTML reports or build small tools that can like support your workflows. So here's just a simple to-do app, like how you can build something like that. And then as you grow, you can grow into like intermediate tutorials, expert tutorials. We've also updated For example, there's like an app gallery where you can go and see other examples, and there's different like other things you can go and take a look at. Yeah. And in general, we have built out, like, there's so many more components in Panel that you can really like do a lot of things with Panel these days. One of the things that we're working on currently is really making it easier to integrate like new libraries. So a lot of what we do as like maintainers of Panel is really integrate JavaScript into Python so that everybody else can just use Python. And for that, you can say we've been a lot inspired by what happened in the Jupyter community, and that is that any widget was introduced. So now we also support the any widget API, so it's becoming a standard. And we use something like that to hopefully ourselves, but also the community to a larger extent will like start to build more components. So you can say here you can actually build like a BI application. So a BI application is something with a very interactive people table. So this is one of the latest extensions to Panel that you're looking at here. So we hope this will grow, and that's a lot. I think that's maybe sort of it for the 15 minutes. Are there some follow-up questions? Because I could go around, like, if there's some specific interests.
Yeah, maybe we could sort of continue the recording if somebody wants to see some other aspect of Panel that you could demonstrate.
Yeah,
Does
like
anybody? Yeah.
somebody has some challenges or something they would like to do but do not know how to do.
And I guess actually, why don't we stop the recording and then we can just continue though. Maybe people feel more comfortable if it's not being recorded. That's kind of
Good.
the idea.
That's good.
Okay, I'll stop the recording.